We are wrestling. We are wrestling podcast.
They give a shout out to We Are Wrestling on YouTube.
You're watching We Are Wrestling.
I'm the host with the most.
You are by far the least intelligent.
What's going on, everybody? Danny Huckins here, man. 1/3 of We Are Wrestling.
What's going on? We are Wrestling Maniacs Worldwide. Ben here, the third of the talk show.
We Are Wrestling Podcast.
Make sure to subscribe, baby.
We are wrestling.
What is up? We are Wrestling Maniacs out there worldwide. I'm the host with the most, Mr. We Are Wrestling himself, the best One Donnie here with...
What's going on, everybody? Danny Huckins here, man. Welcome to We Are Wrestling episode 30. Or actually 70, man. I'm a little bit confused. I'm a little bit tired. Appreciate you guys stopping by. What's going on, man?
What is going on? We are Wrestling Maniacs Worldwide. It is the Asian Noodle. Ben, 1/3 of We Are Wrestling Podcast. Guys, we have a great, interesting, drama-filled show for you guys. You guys already know what to do, but before we get to that, Don, take it away.
That's right. This is the 70th episode of the We Are Wrestling Podcast. And man, we have a very interesting, very drama episode of the podcast. But before we dive into all of this good stuff, if you're not a We Are Wrestling Maniac yet already and you're listening to the podcast, give us a 5-star review. Not just a 5-star review, but a best one review. And download the episode. Really helps with the algorithm. But if you're watching this and you're not a We Are Wrestling Maniac yet already, and you're not a part of the thousands of subscribers, we recommend you to hit that subscribe button now. Turn on the post notifications. Videos be coming out of nowhere like an RKO. And of course, you already know the grind is real.
Yeah, bud.
So, how
man.
has been this week for you guys in the wrestling world?
The wrestling world? Kind of non-existent, to be honest. Like, this week has weirdly been, like, open, I guess, for me, in a way. But it's been so fucking crazy, dude. Like, it's just been busy for whatever reason. And we're only, like, by the time we're recording this podcast, we're only, like, legitimately halfway through the week. So, a lot's happened this half. I'm kind of expecting it for the second half. Like, I'm busy tomorrow. I'm busy on Friday. I work tomorrow. And then I have, I'm chilling with my kiddo for the weekend. And then, yeah. So it's been crazy and I'm expecting crazier. But in terms of the wrestling world, obviously I've been keeping my eye on things. Got a couple things that, we're going to be talking about here tonight that I'm really excited to dive into. There's been some shakeups in the pro wrestling world, not just drama, but legitimate superstar shakeup, and I can't wait to get into that.
So, how has it been this week, Danny, for you?
It's been all right. Enjoyed AEW Collision. I think it was a solid episode. Monday Night Raw, even though, obviously we saw some appearances from people that we haven't seen in quite some time, that, goes to show you that Vince McMahon, isn't in the driver's seat because a lot of these people he'd want to release. Show wasn't that great though, but I'm at the time recording this episode. It's Wednesday afternoon, so we saw Dynamite tonight.
Filler episode of Raw.
Oh yeah, filler, man. It's my first Monday Night Raw I've actually watched like all the way through in about 2 weeks, man. So it's a chore. No matter if the show is good or not. Just watching it every week for 3 hours, bro, it's a fucking mission and a half. It's like going into Vietnam.
Damn. That's that's a strong comparison, but usually I'd be like, damn, Danny, too far, but I can kind of understand like where you're coming from because I have been a part of an era where Monday Night Raw was fucking unbearable and almost just insufferable. Like, so I can definitely understand where you're coming from in that analogy. A little heavy, but I guess I can relate.
But that's the thing as well. Like, I understand it from Danny's side of it because not only is he watching the episodes for 3 hours, he's also doing live streaming of the episodes on, his channel.
And he's trying to be as nice as he possibly
Plus-
can be, so that's already a chore.
Plus, watching the show,
Toxicity.
watching the show for 3 hours while streaming,
Oh,
trying
shit,
to
excuse me.
entertain my audience.
Jesus.
And then after the show ends, I have to spend about an hour and a half to 2 hours editing clips to post on my various social media platforms. So Mondays are usually long. I usually don't hit the bed until around 4 or 5 a.m. on Tuesday morning, just because of how much work and shit I do on Monday night.
Damn. That is wild. But
Do you make revenue
grind
anywhere?
is real.
Do you make
I
any revenue?
I get whenever I go live on TikTok, I get there's like these things called gifts that
Okay.
like translate into like money if you get a certain amount or whatever. So I get some of those whenever I stream and stuff like that. So I get that. I'm waiting to get monetized on YouTube. I'm 200 subscribers away from 1,000, man. So
Hell yeah, man. That's
Right.
dude, that's great, man. I'm glad again, like Don said, the grind is real. My revenue is interesting currently. From it finally refreshed this month, and my God. My God. Yeah, it's weird. It's weird, finally kind of earning on YouTube,
you got your first paycheck? Your
no,
first
not yet.
YouTube check? Not yet.
If I refreshed finally for August, but I did see something, and I was very interested to see what came up, and I was very surprised at the number. Do you guys want to know? Because I'll tell you straight up how much I made on YouTube this for August.
I don't know if you should say it, like out it.
I'll
now,
say it.
or just wait
I'll
until
out it.
after.
No. I'm gonna make a post of how proud I am, but do you want to know?
Put it out there, baby. Let us know.
So my earnings for August. So I'm gonna be getting this next month.
Drum roll.
Yep. So my earnings for August, and I honestly only expected what I saw on my revenue, which was like $115. In September, my first YouTube check is $405.
Woo!
Yeah. It's not a lot of money, but it's for
Hey,
doing
bro,
what I love to
400
do.
400
Like that's kind of
bro?
lit. That's kind of lit. So yeah, it's mind blowing. I mean, obviously it's gone because bills and me and Don have a little
It's still
transactionary plan, but
It still
it's-
motivates you though, doesn't
it's still I did it, like, and I did it doing something I love to do, and
I'll give
it's
you a
I
round
think
of
it's really
applause,
cool,
man.
So
Congratulations, brother.
yeah, so I can
Congratulations.
definitely understand. That's why I had to ask if you were monetized on anything because that is a lot of work, man. So
Doesn't it motivate you to work harder though?
oh, absolutely. Why do you think, dude? The other fucking day I made Twitch affiliate and I didn't even know until 6 days after the fact.
That's what's up.
Yeah, like I mean, yeah, dude. Like I'm already. When I started doing the live streams, I was only at like 15 followers on Twitch, and then right after, like maybe a week, 2 weeks, like altogether, I'm at 107 currently as we're sitting here. So it's nuts, It's really nuts, and those music reaction folks, and even people from We Are Wrestling, and the people that I brought to We Are Wrestling, they stayed around for the gaming shit too. They stick around for you, man, and that's something I've learned. Don't do it for the bands. Do it for you and your audience because they're here for you. They don't give a fuck what you put out. 100%. They really don't. If you have the personality, boom.
And that's the
it.
thing, like, I
come back
honestly
for
have
you.
to agree with what you're saying because when we do our live watch-alongs for the premier live events and the pay-per-views that
We got
you guys
fans.
can check out on the We Are Wrestling YouTube channel, we're always seeing regular We Are Wrestling maniacs in there. And I gotta say, man, that was my reaction when We Are Wrestling. We got our first, YouTube revenue as well because, we've been doing this for, 10 plus years, all three of us. Doing,
Yeah.
different ventures and stuff and like just getting a reward for that hard work, man, like that feeling you can't really explain.
Yeah, and one last thing before we continue on to like the main shit. And another thing I'm going to tell you guys because neither of you guys have done it yet and I really want to see you guys do it. Find a content creator and network. Like literally do collabs. Collab as much as you can. Make real friendships in this game. And you're going to be surprised because there is a person, I'm not going to name his name for anybody that's from my channel that watches this. that I found as a content creator. We both hellaciously react to Ren music and stuff like that. We both are very much so into the same bands, same movies, all that shit. And I've heard my name and his name rumbling in the universe. And our names have been brought up together multiple times saying, man, this is a friendship we need to see happen. These guys need to sit down and talk. He's going to be on the podcast we're recording it Saturday. It's going to be coming out on Monday.
Ooh,
Comes to find out, Homeboy is only an hour down the road. So we're going to be doing in-person shit outside with LEDs everywhere soon. Like, we're going to be doing some crazy shit. So
You're going to have to let me
man.
know who this is off
camera.
Yeah.
he's not a big, he has a lesser following than me. I think he has like 2,000 something subscribers, which honestly, phenomenal. I love to see it. I love seeing small reactors really making a staple for themselves. But it's really cool because shit just got really interesting. Because ironically enough, Metal Bourbon Orion, two of the four Goliaths of the reaction community, they are from Canada and they live really close to each other and they hang out all the fucking time. They collab constantly and it's just bucks. So I was like, me and this guy about to be that fucking duo out here in the East Coast. Let's go. Yeah, so like I said, networking is super fucking important and bringing worlds together is important. That is something I have hellaciously learned.
And speaking of networking, We Are Wrestling. We're looking for more people to work with us behind the scenes. We want to really start growing the social medias and stuff. So if you're interested, go to the first link down in the YouTube descriptions below and send us an email because we're looking to have, we're trying to expand the We Are Wrestling brand a little bit more. So if you guys are interested in helping We Are Wrestling grow and be a part of this, send us an email.
We're also looking for a graphic designer, man, so we can put out some legit merch and get the ball rolling on that, man.
So I got to talk about my week before we dive into the highlight of the weeks.
Do it up.
This week has, been very interesting. For the very first time, I actually sat and watched NXT, and it did not feel like a chore for once. And I didn't
NXT's been getting spicy
to it. I was laying down, relaxing, and I figured, let me turn NXT on. Let me see what's going on over here. And I got to say, I'm really enjoying a lot of, these guys and girls on their product. And I got to say, too, Baron Corbin, my God, he is on another level right now. And I love this feud that we're getting with him and Von Wagner. I thought Von Wagner at first, the man cannot talk. But man, in this promo, this segment that happened on Tuesday, he cut a good promo.
I just miss how NXT used to be so separate and it's like just the total opposite of what Raw and SmackDown was, like to where Raw and SmackDown had a sleek, clean look to it. NXT Black and Gold was sort of dark and gritty and raw, and it had that like raw feeling to it or whatever, kind of like how Monday Night Raw or SmackDown was back in like the late 90s, early 2000s or whatever. It just had that grainy look to it. But now it just looks sleek and clean like the main roster. And like, there's just like no separation there. I don't like it.
I know what you mean.
I just love the talent, man. And like one of the people I really like watching is Carmelo Hayes.
I do. I will say though, like that 100%. Carmelo Hayes is fucking fantastic. However,
Christian Casanova.
I can 100% get behind Dan with what he's saying on a filmmaker's level because presentation can put a lot into your product and the mood you're trying to set. And when they took that grainy shit away and when they switched over to fucking the multicolored brand they are now, it really did take away something production wise in terms of nostalgic value and really took that away. And I feel like that played such a great part in what NXT was and why it was so compelling because it really felt developmental. It felt raw from the heart, it felt as gritty and as grounded as it gets, where it was more pro wrestling and what you can do rather than what you can say. And I think that really did kind of take away from that for me. So I can kind of get where he's coming from.
You know what I got to say as well? I feel like the same thing could be said about AEW Dynamite. They used to have all of these, different colors and like it really popped out on your TV screen.
Bro,
but
I
now
need to say something about
going back
AEW.
to like black and like the crowd's darker.
I have to
the
agree
red
with
and the
you.
blue, but Collision is popping out. Which
I have to
really
agree
like.
with you when it comes to what you're saying right now about AEW.
Yeah.
They are focusing way too much on this pretty new atmosphere and aspect that they're missing key components in their matches and the camera angle sometimes. Dude, I was watching a match with fucking Samoa Joe, literally fucking I think yesterday. I forgot who it was. He looked like some kind of jobber, but he was.
I think you were talking about the Saturday night episode of Collision. He faced that jobber and then he cut a promo on Punk.
Yes, I think so. It was leading up to their match, and they were focusing on like the atmosphere and the build-up where you missed fucking Samoa Joe's reversal impact, and all of a sudden it cut back to the ring and the dude's just on the fucking ground after he had massive momentum, and Joe's just sitting there just like, I'm
Bro,
like, dude, you missed a pivotal fucking moment. You need to be fired.
It was
Like,
fucking
what the fuck?
hilarious. It was hilarious in that match because, you know, Samoa Joe does this thing to where, like, somebody will go and
Jump
like,
off
do,
and then
like,
he'll walk away. Yeah, I know.
I
That's
love
his,
it.
it's called the it's called the nope.
All the way back to TNA,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, dude, he calls it the nope. Yeah, it's dude, I love that, and that's what makes Samoa Joe, and I love the fact that he dances and shit too, which makes him great as Sweet Tooth in fucking Twisted Metal. If you haven't seen that shit, Donnie, you need to watch that shit. It's on.
I told you
It's
how good it was.
Fantastic, fucking fantastic. That is one of the most perfect shows. Period. Fuck all, dude. Sweet Tooth breaking it down to the thong song, and then just don't suck a drug. Guys, I what, baby, move your butt. Sorry, I love Samoa Joe. But yeah, I was watching those series leading up to their match and everything, and I even watched the full match between him and Punk. I loved it, but their camera person needs to be fired, and they need to go back to more like raw looking shit.
So diving into the highlight of the week, what has got to be your highlight of the week this week?
This one might come out of pocket. Like, this one might actually come, like, out of left field, but as much as, like, I guarantee you guys were probably expecting me to say the whole angle with, you know, Jade bouncing, rather, it's not going to be that. Shockingly, my highlight was Lacey Evans getting released. That was my highlight, because, honestly, I'm excited for her. 100%. Like, and I'll explain why when we get to the main topic, to that topic rather, in the podcast, because I know we're intertwining. But there's, like I said, a lot I want to say. So that was my highlight.
Danny, what has got to be your highlight of the week?
I think the last several highlights that I've talked about on the podcast have been like, you know, bloodline related or whatever. So I'm gonna go in a different direction. My highlight of the week, and it does have a little bit to tie into like what we're going to be discussing a lot on this podcast, and that's CMFTR versus the House of Black, the Trios match. That match was so fucking flawless, bro. That match was good. And then you had Samoa Joe interject himself towards the end of the match or whatever to sort of build intrigue or whatever for their eventual match at All In.
Dude, honestly,
I love that match.
I love Samoa Joe in general. So, like, the hype around him with what he's doing in the arts and what he's still doing in wrestling, and the fact that he can still go even though he's injury prone as fuck, I'm stoked on it.
My hope is that he loses the ROH TV title.
I hope he gets a world title.
Gets off of Ring of Honor and gets put on AEW, whether it's Collision or Dynamite full time. The guy is so fucking.
Do not put him on Dynamite. Collision.
I miss his theme song from WWE though. I loved his theme song from WWE. It made him feel larger than life. He already is, but that song made him.
I miss his Impact Wrestling theme song.
Donnie, I want to ask you this real quick.
Impact.
Because we didn't get a chance to talk about it, and Ben, I want to get your thoughts on this too. So on AEW Collision on Saturday, we sort of seen what it looks like is going to be a feud between Powerhouse Hobbs and Miro. I'm really
loved it.
I'm really
Loved
fucking
a battle
intrigued,
of the
man.
Goliaths. Literally, there's
Absolutely
no David in
loved
this.
it.
It's like just Goliaths.
Loved
Yeah.
it.
Now, is that something that's building up, or that already happened?
So what happened was on Collision, Powerhouse Hobbs came out to, you know, cut a promo on what's next for him. And he had his book of Hobbs and a new chapter started. He wants to, you know, get back the TNT championship. But in order to do that, he has to redeem himself, kind of teasing at Miro. I thought it was too good to be true. But then when he called out Miro, that's when, you know, they started the feud. Miro came out and then pretty much, you know, got attacked.
By Aaron Solo.
Okay.
And somebody else.
Well, fuck whoever they are. Fuck who they are. But I am stoked on it because I know how Hobbs is built. I've seen him wrestle. So seeing that with Miro and his you know, Bulgarian brutish style, I am really intrigued on that. It's like the Hulk versus a fucking ape. So it's really fucking stoked because, dude, Powerhouse Hobbs is built like a fucking ape, dude. Like, he is fucking gorilla status, dude. I can't wait for it because that's going to be a heavy hitting match. And you don't have a lot of those nowadays. It's always, a slightly smaller guy and a big ass dude, or two dudes who are just moderate sized wrestlers. You don't really get to see a lot of powerful dudes go at it, especially at the capacity that those two can go at it. So it's like Godzilla versus Kong. I'm stoked. I'm stoked.
I believe they're building this match for All Out, and I gotta say,
Okay.
even though
They didn't say all out, they didn't say all in.
I'm still iffy on them having, All In and then the following weekend having All Out. I do think they should have pushed it back to give it a little bit more time.
Yep, they could have given it a month.
Oh fuck!
I do love how they're sort of giving it that separation though, whatever. So like, they're concentrating on All In, but they're also not, they're concentrating on All Out too. It's not just, we're just gonna throw a quick card together. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they should have definitely given it a month at least. But now getting into my highlight of the week, I'm going to have to go with the Bloodline, Jay quitting WWE. And I got to say, man, when I was doing this reaction, when I was watching it for the first time, Danny, you called it last week on the podcast, brother.
You really did call it. You called that shit, dude. Like, I'm amazed of how well to detail you called it. And
except
honestly,
the quitting. Nobody did say the quitting.
Yeah.
We thought
that angle. But I intertwined there.
Why? No, but Danny called why Jay did, or why Jimmy did what he did.
All right, so I called Jay leaving. You called the whole situation. Like, you called the entire, like, the details.
You called that Jay was possibly going to be out with injury. We didn't.
Take some time out. Like, I knew that he was going to take time off. Like, I knew that he was going to be gone for a while.
The injury thing we all had in mind, but
he was going to be gone.
The reason why I sort of knew the direction that they were going was, if you notice on SummerSlam when he super kicked Jay and threw him back in the ring, he just walked away. He didn't throw up the one. He didn't acknowledge Roman in any way. That's sort of how I came up to the conclusion of how it was going to transpire.
What makes it so brilliant too is he kind of kept it tribal. He kept it to their culture. It's a thing about honor. It's not a thing about, anything else. It was, in a way, his way of seeing it as the most respectful thing to do. So Jimmy really isn't a bad guy in this situation. He's just kind of being like, dude, if you get that, you're gonna lose yourself. Like, I can get that. I can get behind that, and like what it really means that blood is thicker than anything out there. And it really does drip into the whole story, and it does put depth there. So honestly, at first I couldn't see it, but dude, I'm wrong, and I'll take that humble L.
And that's the thing, like, the reason why I love this entire segment, because it just felt so raw. I love that Roman comes out. He's, so happy that he's still the champion. Jimmy comes out, and then Roman thinks that Jimmy's going to acknowledge him, but Jimmy's not acknowledging him. He's his own person. Then Jay comes out because Jay's pissed off. And I just loved, like, this whole time with the Bloodline, Jay Uso's acting has been top tier. And it's been fantastic. So I loved how he super kicked Jimmy. Then he pretty much said deuces.
I do want to touch on the detail around this entire thing, and what also makes this as great as it was. The fact that when Jay said that he's leaving WWE, he's leaving SmackDown, he said it to where the audience couldn't hear what he was saying. Only the people watching on TV. And him doing that makes people think that, is this a work or is this a shoot? Like, is he legitimately pissed off and leaving?
And that's where I'm going to stop you right there, because up next, we're going to dive into the topics, and we're going to talk about some of the things that happened on WWE TV. We'll be right back with more We Are Wrestling 70.
Hey, I'm Double J Jeff Jarrett, and you are listening to We Are Wrestling. Subscribe and like right now. Right there, just push down, subscribe and like. Double J Jeff Jarrett and...
Best One Donnie.
What? What a slap nut.
Are you looking for wrestling content? Well, We Are Wrestling provides everything pro wrestling. The best One Donnie, Danny Huckins, and the Lone Ranger Ben are wrestling marks like you who love this sport. We Are Wrestling has it all when it comes to wrestling content. We have different podcasts, vlogs, reactions, full wrestling matches, live pay-per-view watch-alongs, interviews, predictions, and so much more. Only on We Are Wrestling. What are you waiting for? Subscribe and become a We Are Wrestling Maniac now. Now, getting into the topics for this week's episode. This past Friday on SmackDown, last Friday, we saw Jey Uso quit WWE. Apparently, WWE has moved him to the alumni section on their website. Now, there's people that think Jey is legitimately quitting and showing up in AEW. What's your thoughts on this?
You want to know how I know it's a 100% work? They mentioned it on commentary on Monday. If he was legitimately leaving and going to another company, they wouldn't have mentioned it.
They would have, and they also would have put out Jey Uso is officially released immediately. No, it's a fucking work, dude. We all know it. They're definitely like props on them for going as far as moving him to the alumni section, doing all that crazy shit. Yeah. Definitely feels ruthless aggression era all over, where it kind of almost they're trying to break kayfabe again. We obviously don't buy it anymore, but I love it. You know, I love that they're really going the extra mile to really sell this work. But to think 100% that he's going to fucking AEW is literally the most like remedial thing you could say. I'm like, bro, this dude is a WWE day one, and you think he's like just out.
People are going on like there's like all these freaking graphics of like Jey Uso is all elite.
Fucking dumb.
Joshua Fatu is all elite. Joshua Uso is all elite.
Yeah, there's fucking reports coming out that he's gonna come back with Naomi when she has a fucking contract with Impact. Like, what are you fucking talking about, dude?
I have heard. Now, I haven't been able to lock this down as 100% accurate, but I have heard that his contract is up towards the end of the month, and he hasn't necessarily resigned. Well, I know that, but that comes into question too. The fact that all this is happening. He left WWE, and his contract is coming up. That's what's making everybody think like, oh, maybe he's gonna go somewhere else.
Here, I'm gonna say this right now. All right, if Jey Uso leaves WWE, he's fucking stupid.
He's not leaving WWE.
Look, he's not leaving WWE. This man is going to be getting the bag. He is a part of one of the hottest storylines in all of pro wrestling, and this is all a part of the story because they need time for Jey to
build himself
go against Jimmy at WrestleMania
and
40.
establish himself as a single star too, because you don't want him getting lost in the fold. So you need to give him time to cook. And with doing that, Jey needs to leave.
Going to help him leave for a couple of weeks because we need to,
a couple months at least. Time. Like, I'd rather see Rikishi. Rikishi's going to be fucking reffing at Payback. He's going to be.
But here's the thing.
I see it between him and Solo.
Who said Jay's going to wrestle Jimmy at Payback?
That's what I'm saying. I think it's going to be Solo. Yeah. Or Roman, maybe, but he's not scheduled. Like, it's either Solo or Roman. One of the two. He's going to face either or, and Rikishi's going to be the fucking... I see it being Roman because, if anything, that's going to make Rikishi have to acknowledge Roman, and it's going to further the fucking expansion of the bloodline. So I think it's going
to get involved. I heard that.
I heard that.
I saw he's going to be reffing at Payback, and they had to delete that post immediately, and he's like, fucking different promotion, fucking screw up. I'm like, bro, they leaked it. Come on. Like, come on. If it shows up, you're fucked.
I'm thinking if they leaked it like that, and obviously they went back on what they said or whatever, but now that everybody assumes that's legitimately what's going to happen, maybe they'll move it to Fastlane or Survivor Series.
So here's what I think is going to happen here, realistically. Whenever Jimmy fights Roman for the championship, that's when Jey comes back from quitting. And I think that's going to be either at Fastlane or Payback.
Roman's not going to be at
Survivor Series. We're getting a fatal 4-way for that championship. Watch.
See, I don't think that Jimmy's going to be facing Roman in terms of a championship. I don't think it's necessary. I think it's going to be a whole-on acknowledgement and Roman almost forcing him back into the bloodline because he has nobody else, so he might as well come home. And it's going to force Rikishi to fucking acknowledge him, too.
I think Jimmy gets a shot at the title. Jimmy's going to get screwed from his brother Jey because of what happened at SummerSlam.
That would mean Jey would...
That means fatal 4-way.
In a perfect world, Jay
Bro.
would be coming back at the Rumble. That would be the perfect world scenario. Because then it
Roman-
gives him time to fucking chisel too. So,
Roman's not going to be on Payback or Fastlane.
that's
He's
what I'm
not-
saying.
He's
So
not
Here's the
Survivor
thing, though.
Series.
But here's the thing, though. You don't know that because last time at WrestleMania, they didn't have Roman Reigns advertised for these other Premier Live events. But last minute, they advertised them there because they didn't want people to think, oh, Roman's going to retain the title against Cody. Cody's going to beat him, and then he's going to go on a break for a few months. So you really don't know until we get closer to the Premier Live event.
I know this week no member of the Bloodline is going to be on SmackDown. By the time you guys obviously see this episode, you guys will know 100% sure. But I heard that because it's Edge's night, with his anniversary and everything going on, that they're keeping every member of the Bloodline off of SmackDown on Friday.
Good.
That's a good call. Like, it gives them time to obviously Roman for him to heal a little bit more. And it allows the time for Edge. And I don't think he's going to retire after Friday. Like, I don't see him retiring on a SmackDown. I see him retiring at a premium live event.
Sean Ross Sapp seems to think that Edge is gonna leave WWE
and go to AEW
and
for
go
Christian.
to AEW and have one last run there.
It's not happening.
See, here's the thing.
It's not happening.
That's the thing.
Don't rule it out, man.
That's the thing.
I won't.
I
rule
can
it out,
see
but it's not
him.
happening.
I could see him showing up in All Elite Wrestling for a storyline with Christian, but as a full-time gig, a run, that's not happening. Maybe a storyline.
He was
but-
this close to signing. He was this.
No,
close
I
to
know he
signing.
was,
I'm
but
gonna
he
be
had to talk to
completely honest
Vince.
with you. I don't think it's going to happen. I think he's too loyal to WWE.
I think if there's going to be a Brood reunion of its full capacity, it's going to be in AEW. I
Very
can
true,
see.
but I don't know, man. I can see
That's
the
why-
independence before that
See,
happens.
I see him going to All Elite Wrestling first and then hitting the independence on his way out. I don't rule out that happening in the very near future. I don't rule that out.
See, here's the thing. I'm not going to rule it out. I'm not going to rule it out because it is possible. Anything is possible in pro wrestling.
We've
CM
seen
Punk coming back. Nobody believed he was ever going to step foot back in a wrestling ring. So
See,
I'm not going to rule it out, but here's the thing.
Edge's return is bigger.
Realistically, when Edge retires from WWE, he is going to be going to the independent circuit because he's going to do meet and greets. He's going to do signings and all that type of stuff before
That'd
he
be
does
lovely.
anything else.
I just think
That's
like
what every legend does.
like Edge has pretty much done everything he's wanted to do in WWE. Since he's come back, he's pretty much had a match with almost everybody that he's wanted to have a match with. Who's to say that, he's not thinking about, having a match with somebody like Kenny Omega. He doesn't want a match with MJF. He doesn't want a match with Adam Cole. He doesn't want a match with Moxley. He doesn't want a match with, numerous other people.
Like I said, it's not going to be a
know. I just think
contract.
it's his
It's going to be a
loyalty,
quick
man.
thing. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think with All Elite Wrestling, it's going to be a one-off storyline, but he's not going to stay there full time. He's not going to get a contract. He's not going to be under contract with All Elite Wrestling by any means.
You want to
But
know
he'll do a storyline, especially if it
like
involves
a segment, pretty much.
No,
You
not
wanna
even a segment.
know,
Maybe even a string of matches, but not on a full-time capacity and not on a reoccurring basis. It's just to close out his chapter with Christian.
Plus,
That's
he
it.
is really good friends with FTR. But besides
That's what I'm saying.
that,
Other than that, done.
remember who else was loyal as fuck to Vince in WWE? Chris Jericho.
But that was on a different. That's a valid point, but that was also on very different circumstances.
Very true.
Because fucking Edge and him never butted heads. Chris and Vince have had many issues. So
Yeah, but every time Chris has left, he's never thought about going somewhere else until AEW.
Well, no, here's what happened. I can kind of add something
he
to
was in
this.
fucking Japan for a grip.
Here's how it all started with Jericho. So,
Excuse me.
with New Japan Pro Wrestling, they gave him an opportunity to fight Kenny Omega. And Jericho promised Vince McMahon and WWE that he will not work for any promotion in the U.S. Japan's outside the U.S. So then when these opportunities happened, Jericho had a better time than he expected to have. So then when AEW opened the door, that's when Jericho, had that tough decision to make, but he didn't like the direction WWE was going in, especially with his character. And New Japan really, spark that passion back in Chris Jericho to get back into pro wrestling, not sports entertainment.
Not gonna lie,
That's what
bro.
led to him going to AEW.
I would love to see Edge in a match in New Japan, bro.
That'd be sick, but he can't perform at that level anymore.
That's
New
the thing.
Japan
I don't
is
know,
hard
man.
hitting,
With
bro.
Edge, we're just gonna have to wait and see what happens on Friday because we don't even know if he's gonna retire.
Nobody on this.
I think he actually could have a chance of retiring.
Nobody
It does make sense.
Nobody on this fucking planet ever thought he was gonna come back from this injury and stay as long as he has.
3
I'm
years.
just gonna throw that out there, bro. So us sitting over here saying, "Oh, he's not gonna do this or he's not gonna do that," totally undermines everything that Edge has done since he's come back in 20.
No, and I agree. Like, all I'm saying is when he eventually does step foot in All Elite Wrestling, it's no contract. He's literally doing one storyline with Christian, and after that, it's done. I don't see him doing anything else.
I could even see him once he legitimately retires full time. I could see his final match being with Christian, knowing the history that they have. You know what I mean? That's why I do think that it's a very real possibility we get this.
Tony Khan better give him a shit ton of money. That's the only way I see it happening.
He will, and he would also get Vince's blessing first, because Vince is what made him.
So the last thing I do want to say about Edge, because there are speculations going around that Friday, this could possibly be his last match. And honestly, I'm not going to rule that out because it does make sense. He did say last year he wanted to retire in Toronto, and he's going to be working against Sheamus, somebody who helped him, get back into the pro wrestling business.
See, here's the thing.
It does make a lot of sense.
I don't want to discredit Sheamus. I think he's a hell of a performer. He's past his time, unfortunately, in my opinion. And as much as I love the fact that he is the reason why Edge is back, I wish it was somebody else. If he is retiring on Friday, I wish it was with somebody else. It should have been Orton. Out of anybody, it should have been Orton.
Cena.
No,
Yeah,
Orton. Orton is the last full-timer.
Austin
So
Theory,
I would say Orton.
Austin Theory had a WrestleMania match with,
And it was underwhelming as fuck.
And we saw how that
but
Theory
that
look.
was also Cena's fault, dude. He did not go to work for Theory, and that is a fucking problem. So that's on my part. That was on Cena. That wasn't on Theory, because Theory is a hell of a performer.
It takes two to tangle.
I will say, I feel like it's just speculation at the moment. I don't see Edge having his final match on a random episode of SmackDown, regardless if it's in his hometown or not. Knowing that majority of people, they're not necessarily going to watch the show. They're going to watch the clips, or they're going to DVR it and watch it Saturday morning while they're fucking eating their Cheerios or whatever.
Cheerios.
I see that happening when he retires from WWE. I see maybe 2024, maybe WWE puts on some kind of PLE in Toronto or whatever, and that being his time. He is having special merch made with the
Maple Leafs. He's so stoked.
I
He's
know,
so
his
fucking
Maple Leaf
stoked.
room, man. Gets to add that to it, which is cool.
If you guys are going to that show, make sure you guys get the shirt, because it's not going to be available anywhere else.
Hell yeah.
But that's the thing. We're just going to have to wait and see with that. But honestly, getting back into the Jay thing, I do like how WWE did, move him on their website, because that's such an old school thing to do. So overall, I'm very excited to see what happened. This past Friday on SmackDown, we also saw Rey Mysterio win his first United States Championship against Austin Theory, which it was supposed to be Santos versus Theory, but Santos got written off with a kayfabe injury. So then Rey Mysterio replaced him and won the championship. What's your thoughts on this?
So I believe this is his second U.S. title run. And it should have been LA Knight. That's all I'm going to say. That's only my thoughts.
It should have been LA Knight. I'm happy that it wasn't Santos.
He's not ready.
As much as I like Santos, he was a big baller on NXT or whatever, but this is a totally different, ball game.
He's still in a very mentorship. I feel like he's put where Dom used to be.
But with all the rumors that, you know, Rey Mysterio, this might be Rey Mysterio's last full year or whatever, you know, for nostalgia purposes, I'm not upset that, you know, he has one
Yeah.
last title reign or whatever. And I could see two things happening. One, either Santos Escobar turns heel, leaves LWO and has a feud with Rey Mysterio, or I could see, and I have heard this floating around. I heard Rey Mysterio could potentially restart the feud with Dominic. Dominic wins the U.S. title, and they can join the North American title with the U.S. title and one title.
I did see that. I hope that doesn't happen, though. Here's what my thoughts are about this whole thing. I'm happy for nostalgia purposes that Rey Mysterio did win the championship, but
That's
the
it.
only way I'm going to be okay with this, the only way I'm fine with this is if, you know, the LWO, Santos, and, you know, his tag partners, they turn on Rey Mysterio, they turn full heel, and Santos wins the championship. That's the only way I will accept this. I still think it should have been LA Knight at SummerSlam. They could have created a defining moment right there. LA Knight could have made that championship very prestigious.
My only issue with this whole thing is if Santos Escobar does turn heel, I don't think Legado del Fantasma joins him. I do think they stay in LWO just because Del Toro and the other guy, Joaquin Wild, I guess his name is. I feel like that keeping them with somebody like Rey Mysterio, they'd be able to learn a lot more so than just sticking with Santos Escobar. And I do feel like if you put Santos Escobar in a singles run, he might be able to sort of develop his character more because his entire time in NXT, he's been with these guys. He's never like literally went out on his own. You know what I mean?
I have
But
no
I feel like
interest in
these
him.
guys haven't done anything, though. That's the problem. That's
But
why I
they're
see them
still
turn heel.
they're still one of the top selling merch people on the
It's
WWE
bro,
shop.
it's LWO and it's a Latino group. There's a huge Spanish population in the fandom, so yeah.
But still,
They
I
kicked
would
Ray out
rather
of the group.
I would rather.
They did it to
Well,
Edge.
But then what are they going to do with Carlito? Carlito's supposed to join LWO. If everybody leaves and LWO is no more, what are they
When
going to do with
Santos
Carlito?
Escobar finally turns heel, who do you think is going to come for the save?
I see Santos Escobar turning heel, attacking Rey
Carlito.
Mysterio, leaving LWO. Del Toro and Joaquin Wild stay with LWO, and having Carlito and Rey Mysterio run LWO
Hey,
along
Daddy,
with
I'm
Joaquin
sorry to
Wilde
tell you
and-
this. Carlito is not showing up anytime soon. He's in catering, enjoying his apples right now.
Oh, he's showing up. He was supposed to show up, I want to say like 2 months ago, but it was the night that the Bloodline went like 45 minutes or whatever, and they didn't want his return to get overshadowed by the Bloodline. Which I mean, I understand. It's hard to introduce somebody of nostalgia purposes or reintroduce them on SmackDown when the Bloodline is on, because that's like the biggest storyline currently in pro wrestling.
Very true. But now, another question I do have for you guys. The person who lost the U.S. title, Austin Theory, what's next for him?
Buried.
I think he should go to NXT personally. I don't see anywhere else that he fits on. Like maybe with Grayson Waller, but again, Grayson Waller's had one match since the draft in April, and this coming week he has the Grayson Waller effect. He's not necessarily doing anything. So do we really want to pair Austin Theory, who's not over or not as over as he should be currently, and put him with Grayson Waller, who again, Grayson Waller's not over or not really doing anything worthwhile on the main roster?
I see fucking Theory and Grayson Waller being a tag team for sure.
I'd rather Grayson Waller and The Miz be a tag team. Here's what I think they should do with Austin Theory. And there's been a lot of speculations about this, and a lot of fans want to see a face turn with Austin Theory, because there's been a lot of videos that have leaked with meet and greet experiences, and a lot of people that have met Austin Theory have said very high things. And I think Theory has that same mindset when it comes to, giving the fan the experience, because he was a John Cena fan his whole life. So he tries to go beyond with his fans.
And I don't know how much of Austin Theory's history that you guys do know.
I do. Evolve Wrestling.
his dad's not around anymore. His dad was a really bad drug addict, and wasn't that nice to him. He became a pro wrestler, so he'd be able to support his mother and his younger siblings. Like Austin Theory, he's where he's at right now, just so he can, financially be there for his family. It's not necessarily somebody that I look at to want to hate, knowing all the shit that he's gone through.
And I want to add something to that. Here's what I want to see with Austin Theory if they decide to have him turn face. Because we've seen this work before where back in the day with the Attitude Era, we saw Jim Ross do these sit-down interviews with people and like Mankind. There's the best example. We got to see like the whole story behind Mankind and the Three Faces of Foley. I think with Austin Theory, he could benefit from doing like a sit-down interview with somebody and then talk about the struggles in his life, and we can get that face turn, because I think that's
Don't you think that'd be a little bit too close to what Von Wagner is currently doing on NXT? Because he's sort of doing the same thing.
I don't know, man. Theory needs something new, and I think that the best thing that they could do is do something like this, because then a reason why he acts the way he acts.
I would not mind Austin Theory. This is going to be weird. Like, this is going to be so out of left field. You guys are going to be like, what the fuck are you talking about? I can see Austin Theory turning babyface, and I can see him feuding with somebody from Judgment Day, like Dominic or Finn or Damien, or, well, not Damien because he has the briefcase, but either Finn or Dominic Mysterio. Knowing how much heat Dominic Mysterio gets or has, whenever he tries to talk, if you have Austin Theory turn babyface and feud with him, you might be able to get the crowd on his side.
Definitely a possibility, but we're going to have to wait and see with what happens. But now moving on to our next topic. This past Monday on Raw, Chelsea Green found a new tag partner in Piper Niven, seeing her finally return. What's your thoughts on this?
Is Chelsea Green a heel?
Yes, she is.
She's a Karen character. Like,
well, I mean, Karen has her muscle now. So, I mean, it could definitely go really well. I mean, I like Piper Niven. I think that, she, for her stature, she could fucking go. So, I love seeing anybody come out of catering, and I love seeing people get their TV time. And obviously, Piper Niven is another Triple H bred fucking superstar. So, I think, with the right guidance, the right gimmick, the right attitude, the right feuding, booking, it could be a really good direction. You could really build her up to be a powerhouse because, again, she's super talented, and I feel like she has a lot more to give. And immediately giving her a fucking tag team title and be like, hey, you're in, and giving her a chance to shine and carry it, that could make it hard to fucking drop. So
I will say,
I'm kind of stoked for it.
I will say, and I talked very, very, very briefly to Donnie about it in our group chat that we have. I don't like the fact that Chelsea Green is able to keep the tag titles, knowing that Sonya Deville got injured, and all she had to do was find another tag team partner. I mean, that's never.
Yeah, Raquel and fucking Liv Morgan fucking dropped that shit a million times. So I'm like, dude, what the fuck?
To be honest, they probably didn't want to go through another tournament.
Yeah, because it's like now they're getting way too fucking.
There's other things that they could have did, bro.
They find your own damn fucking tag team partner at this point.
They could have had a fucking tag team ladder match with 3 or 4 of your best female tag teams. Had a fucking ladder match.
Put Chelsea Green in the match. They find a tag team partner, but we have to take these off you. Fucking tag team ladder match, tornado style, just like fucking Armageddon, where Joey Mercury got. But yeah, do that shit for the women. That would have been exhilarating as fuck. I would have watched the fuck out of it. I don't care who's in the match. It's fucking ladder matches are my favorite. So yeah,
they could have
been pretty cool.
They could have built it up for Payback or Fastlane or something like that. I just don't think it's really doing anything to add value to the tag titles. They're just...
okay, that's where I'm gonna stop you, because if there's anybody that has added value to these titles, Chelsea Green has done a fantastic
Bro, she's had him for 3 weeks. I'm just saying. having
still hear
Chelsea
you.
having Chelsea Green just find another tag partner and being able to keep the titles, that's not adding any kind of value to the tag team titles, bro. It's not. Regardless of what you say, it's not.
Who
I
has
can
made these
still hear him
championships
clearly.
prestigious?
That's like
The
that's
last
like
five.
that's like Edge and Christian, or Christian getting injured or whatever, and Edge being able to keep the tag titles if he found somebody else to be a tag team back in the day. Like, that's never been what tag team wrestling is all
Yikes.
about, man. They should have did
Yes, I'll
sort of
give you that.
they should have did
But
like a
but you saying Chelsea Green has not made these championships prestigious, that is not a fact.
No, I said her being able to keep the titles and just find another tag team partner to replace Sonya Deville, who's going to be out for almost a year. That's not adding any kind of value to the tag team titles.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. I thought you were saying that she didn't make the titles.
I enjoyed Sonya Deville and Chelsea Green as a tag team because I feel like they're almost the same gimmick.
Okay.
And when they
All right,
started
okay.
coming out in almost similar gear or whatever, and they have the whole similar mindset, I enjoyed it. And then obviously when she got injured in the match with Bianca and Charlotte, which should have never happened in the first place. Yeah, I just don't think that it's gonna add any kind of value to the tag titles that allows Chelsea Green to keep the titles by just finding another tag team partner.
You see, I do agree with that. And my problem is I kind of wish we did get more of this whole Chelsea Got Talent thing. I felt like this could have definitely got over. I think that this was a great idea because Sonya Deville obviously was injured. Chelsea didn't want to get rid of the titles, so she was doing these things where people would send her videos and then she would post them over on Instagram. And I think that, like, her taking advantage of little opportunities like that, she needs to be on TV regularly. She needs to be used properly. And the only thing I don't like is that, like, I don't mind Piper Niven getting this opportunity. Good for her.
Either.
She's been in catering, but my only problem with this entire thing is what you said. Just, giving them the championships. And we should have had this Chelsea Got Talent thing for at least a couple more weeks.
I will say,
Adam Pearce could have said, you can't keep these titles. We're going to do the ladder match at Payback.
This week's episode of The Bump, watch it. Because we do see some video submissions from this whole Chelsea Got Talent, and they did mention it. So I do think they're gonna be sort of playing in one of the videos. It was hilarious. Was R-Truth.
I did see that video. I was laughing on social media. That was great. But we'll be right back with more We Are Wrestling Podcast 70.
You got MJ in the house, Marty Jannetty here with Don, and we are wrestling.
Hey, what's up, players? WWE Hall of Famer Teddy Long, and you are listening to the We Are Wrestling Podcast. And if you don't listen to it, then it's one-on-one with The Undertaker.
One thing We Are Wrestling recommends you to do is support your local independent promotions. They are the stars of tomorrow. And you never know, sometimes when you go to these shows that might only have 10 to 30 people, you could be seeing the next future WWE champion, maybe even the next AEW star. And through the years, I've always been a huge advocate to supporting independent wrestling. And you can't go wrong. It's a cheap night out, you get a good time with the family, and you get to watch some good old wrestling. Independent wrestling, that's where usually a young professional wrestler starts their career. And having these opportunities to perform in front of crowds is a great way to get exposure to where they will eventually be on your television screen watching them every week. We recommend you guys to support indie wrestling. Before we get into our next topics and the comment of the weeks, if you guys have not checked out the AEW Collision vlog over on the We Are Wrestling YouTube channel, recommend you guys to go check that out. One of my buddies that was with us during the Collision vlog actually fell asleep during the Ring of Honor tapings, and it's all on the vlog, so recommend you guys to go check that out. Also, some big news on the We Are Wrestling Instagram. We got 2 follows from former WWE superstars. Bill DeMott and Big Vito followed We Are Wrestling on Instagram.
Oh shit! Wow.
Bill DeMott's the head trainer at the Performance Center.
Was.
Whoa.
Oh, he quit? He's not there no more?
Yeah, they got rid of him, I guess, for, I don't know. I think they promoted A-Train.
Yeah.
He's a big advocate against drunk driving and stuff like that because
for sure.
his daughter got killed.
Damn, that's unfortunate.
But no,
Man.
honestly, like this is so cool
Condolences.
because with Bill DeMott, man, I loved his work in, professional wrestling.
WCW, man.
But no, here's what I really loved about him was Tough Enough. I loved him pushing all of these contestants to the limit and, coming up with these funny nicknames.
He pushed them so hard, we never saw him after the fucking season ended.
He smacked the mat. We never saw him again. He just melted.
What happened to that big fucking guy that fucking that one the last season of Tough Enough that Steve Austin was on?
Oh,
He should've-
Andy.
Yeah, what happened to him? He looks like Von Wagner.
Drugs. He failed the drug test a few times.
Can't stop smoking that weed before the fucking anxiety.
Oh
bro.
my god, I gotta hit my pipe.
But now, diving into the comment of the week. Every week here on the We Are Wrestling podcast, we like to acknowledge some of the We Are Wrestling Maniacs comments. All you have to do to get your comment featured on a future episode of the podcast is go to the We Are Wrestling YouTube channel and comment on any video. This
Just
week,
don't
we have
comment,
Not
just
one,
don't
not
make-
2, not 3, not 4, but 5 comment of the week.
Bitch, why 5?
This dude
Like,
wants to shout out every
That's
subscriber.
what I'm
we
fucking
have.
saying. It's supposed to be the comment of the week, not the comments of the week. The fuck?
Well, we got 5. So here we go. Our first comment of the week is from @Little Eat Your Hands.
Little eat your dick.
What?
And they commented, and they commented this. And this was on one of my reaction videos. They said, "Bro, stop caring about the draft. I think it's better to have the wrestlers appear on both shows. Makes it more exciting."
Shut the fuck. Nobody gives a shit what you have to say because we have 5 comments to go through.
Oh my god, shut up, dude. Nobody gives a fuck about an open ass concept showing up everywhere. We're like, where are the stakes? Where are the surprises? You take that out entirely with one big jumbled fucking mess. It sucks.
I will
sucks.
say WWE doesn't really abide by the draft anyway, so I do agree with the comment. But Donnie, man, we need to stop at 1, maybe 2, depending. It's comment. You gotta
comment.
You gotta make
Comment. Singular. One standout. The best of them all. Not every subscriber.
You gotta make it feel special, man. That way we get more comments and people be like, "Oh, I'm gonna type in this witty comment. And hopefully it gets picked for this week's episode."
Okay, I need to defend myself real quick. We have over hundreds of comments every week.
So what?
So picking 5 comments is pretty impressive, if you ask me.
Ben,
That
should we
is a
fuck
valid
his
point.
ass?
No, that is a valid point that he did bring up. Like, that is actually a fucking
Ben.
solid argument. Like, as much as it is still, like, absolutely, like, what the
Sleep. Let
fuck?
me know when you're
I
over.
still have to defend this man because that was a valid argument. Like, there is thousands of them now. We have to give some
Literally.
kind of... Done. I'll take the humble L. Go ahead. Are you giving birth or are you gonna shit? Oh,
Close your
Danny,
legs.
stay like that.
Close
Stay
your
like that.
legs.
Hold up. Stay like that.
Oh
Stay like
my
that. Stay like that. Stay like that. Stay like that. Hold up. Hold up.
I am not editing this out either.
Yes, keep it in there. Oh no, hold on. That's a video. Hold up. That was a video. Let me
Danny
zoom
has
in.
given birth live on the We Are Wrestling podcast.
I
ladies
feel
and
like I'm
gentlemen.
gonna tip over in my chair. Donnie, you're not gonna pose, you bitch?
I got it. Oh god, that's going in the group chat. When Oh, that's wait. Wrong group chat.
When Donnie picks more than 1 comment a week, Danny falls asleep.
And also,
Gives birth.
I can add another valid point here to
Oh my
my
God.
case here.
I'm sick of your valid points.
When it comes to the comment of the weeks, you could just give a quick thought on it. You don't have to talk about it for like 5 minutes each.
I know, bro, but comment 1
Comment.
singular.
Fine, the comments of the week. I guess we're gonna have to call it that. Danny hates the We Are Wrestling Maniacs, ladies and gentlemen.
No, I don't, man. But you gotta make it feel special for people. If you pick more than one comment, then people are just gonna comment.
5 out of 100 different comments from 100 different We Are Wrestling Maniacs. That is pretty impressive.
Oh my god, that was phenomenal. I needed that laugh.
I'm just gonna enjoy my prime and shut the fuck up.
All right, there you go. That's better.
Oh, that was phenomenal. I needed that laugh.
So with this comment here, pretty much there's people telling me to stop complaining about the whole, draft thing when it doesn't matter. I feel like I have a valid reason here. Just like freaking picking 5 out of 100 comments.
Nah, I got you.
They did this whole draft thing, and pretty much it doesn't matter. So, of course, I'm going to call WWE out on that bullshit. I call out the good, I call out the bad.
Didn't I call it out probably 2 months ago, and you were like, "What the fuck do you mean?"
Yeah, just be hating.
You're right, because I want the draft to matter, and it doesn't matter.
Yeah, dude.
So
what are you drafting? What are you drafting? Don't even have a draft if you're not going to keep it split.
Moving on now to the next comment of the week. It is from @JamesA567 Brandon. He commented this. I wonder if they're setting up War Games with Judgment Day. Finn Balor, Damian Priest, Dominic Mysterio, and JD McDonough versus Cody Rhodes, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, and Seth Rollins.
I don't know.
I'm kind of scared because they announced War Games 2-3 months before it actually happened, and they announced Survivor Series, but they haven't said anything about War Games yet. So if Vince McMahon's
it will happen at Survivor Series.
If Vince McMahon's in the fold, Vince McMahon, he's gonna want the 5-on-5 SmackDown versus Raw like he likes it. So we don't know.
But how would you feel if they actually did do that?
I wouldn't mind it, but what I heard somebody say, what if Finn Balor was in a match or something I can't remember how they worded it, but something about how Damian Priest could possibly cash in his Money in the Bank at Survivor Series.
That'd be sick. That's a good place to do it. One of the big 5. And Survivor Series is underrated as hell, so I feel like that's kind of some pristine.
Could they do the War Games match, but figure out a way to write Damian Priest out of it, and after the War Games match, maybe he cashes in on Rollins if Rollins is in the match?
Man. I don't know.
Because let's face it, the way Damian and Finn is, we saw it on Monday, man. Damian pushed the briefcase and went right underneath fucking Finn's legs. You could tell that shit was a little bit intentional.
It was intentional. It was intentional as fuck. He gave that shit to Cody. Yeah, knock his ass the fuck out.
So, who's to say
just picking on him?
Who's to say Finn Balor and Damian Priest are gonna want to team up together in War Games?
How do you feel about that, Ben?
Teaming up and
Possibly happening at War Games.
Fucking Damian cashing in, or them
no, having
Damian
this
out
match.
somehow?
Having
this
this
match?
Games match.
I don't know. I'm kind of
indifferent. A few months away though from Survivor Series.
Yeah, it's too early to tell. I feel like the pieces, there's still a lot to tell in the story. Maybe Damian's not even a part of it anymore by that time. Maybe Finn's the one that stays with JD McDonough because they had a team already. I feel like it would make more sense for Damian to leave. For him to finally be on his own, go on his singles run, maybe become the Archer of Infamy again for his fucking heel run.
Or what we've been talking about all along, how Judgment Day kicks Finn out and replaces Finn with JD McDonough.
That makes sense, I guess.
Anything could happen at this point. I still think it's going to be Finn Balor getting turned on eventually in the group, but I hope that they keep all these guys together for a while. Let's build a long-term storytelling.
As far as War Games, I don't want to get too excited in case it doesn't happen, because nobody saw Vince coming back after everything that happened last year, and he did. So
he hates the comment of the weeks, but he talks for 5 minutes on each one.
I just think it should only be one comment, man.
Moving on now to our next comment of the week. It is from @Daniel Lowell 7665. And he commented this on the Matt Riddle, Drew McIntyre reaction this past Monday. When he turned around, laughing emojis. Bro was fed up. Absolutely, because I'm fed up with Matt Riddle. Moving on now to the next comment. @LeeJun8955. Jay would be a main eventer if he joined AEW.
Oh god.
No, he wouldn't.
That is the dumbest comment of the week so far.
That is
I'm sorry,
the
but it's
comment
true.
of the week. I don't acknowledge that comment.
I can't acknowledge it. I have
And
pride.
yeah, no.
And comment 77 of this episode is
And our
Disney,
last
okay.
comment of the week is from @Thomas. Oh, okay, I just had Thomas Chester too, and he said, "I pop every time you do your MJF dance." Finally, somebody acknowledged that, because every time MJF.
Thank
comes
you for
out, I
letting us
literally-
know, Thomas Chesternuts.
So, congratulations to all 5 comment of the
Thomas
week.
Chester
I
Nuts.
apologize for Danny's lack of enthusiasm during this week's comment of the weeks, but if you want to get your comment
Danny.
featured on a future episode of the podcast, all you have to do is comment on a video.
One.
Comment of the week.
One. Bro, if we
do
only
it.
have
Well-
one comment of the week, we'll be able to give a logical, thorough answer. We won't have to skip through them really fast. One comment of the week.
How about this? Let's let the We Are Wrestling Maniacs decide
Putting up
in
a
the
poll.
comment section below. We're putting
Poll.
up a poll in the community tab. And Danny, next week, you're going to have to acknowledge me, or I'm going to have to acknowledge you. We'll have to
Oh,
wait and see what
shit.
happens on We Are Wrestling 71. But
I'm the
moving on
wise man
back
this time, bitch.
Into our topics, Seth Rollins.
We have a tribal combat going on.
Yes, we do. We have a tribal combat going on. Danny versus Donnie. Ben, special guest referee. But the We Are Wrestling Maniacs, they'll be the ones to decide. Because if they want one comment of the week, we'll do one comment of the week. But if they want to do 3 or 5 of them, then we're doing 3 or 5 of them. It's up to them. They're
Three,
the ones
just
that
three
are
is reasonable.
Just know, the more comments we talk about, the less of an answer you guys are going to get because we'll have to go through them really fast. Just keep that in mind.
All right, well, moving on back to our topics for this week. Seth Rollins wants WWE to make a physical WWE Hall of Fame. While speaking to GQ, Rollins stated that, yeah, the stuff I can't give to Goodwill. If I don't know where to get rid of it, I send it to the archives. Just because you never know. I think at some point in the future, there's a market for physical WWE Hall of Fame, and I'm lubing for my own wing. Would you like to see a physical WWE Hall of Fame happen?
Yes. And this should have happened years ago. But, now that I'm sitting here thinking about it, I think I know the
It needs to be in
reason why.
Stamford, Connecticut.
I think, well,
Needs to be.
either that or Orlando, because that's like where a lot of their business is done with like the performance center and stuff like that. So it's gonna either be in Connecticut or Orlando.
Too.
But I feel like the reason they don't want it, because seeing all the memorabilia, that's like a huge part of WrestleMania Access every year. So that's like, having to move the entire fucking museum to whatever city they're in. Maybe they just don't really want to have to go through all that
Who
shit.
fucking cares? That is a moneymaker right there, nonstop. Like nonstop moneymaker.
I know
Like,
they have-
no,
I know-
if
I
they
know-
like
I
money,
agree
they'll
with
do
Ben.
it.
I know
I
you
agree with
can.
Ben.
I know you can tour the warehouse. There's numerous videos on YouTube that you can.
Yeah,
like,
the
tour
fucking SmackDown
warehouse.
fist is there and everything. Who cares? But regardless, I'd rather a Hall of Fame, 100%.
I
Keep the
would too.
museum somewhere with like the bigger items, but like memorabilia of the superstars. Maybe fucking. This is gonna get real dark, and I apologize if this is too dark. Maybe the turnbuckle where X, Y, and Z unfortunately demised, like
no,
shit like that.
That can't
Like
be seen. They need
shit-
to burn it.
regardless of the fact, shit like that.
You think
needs
they
to
still
be
have
somewhere.
it?
No, probably not.
Wow.
But like that's what I'm saying. Like that deep, like things that are part of history, wrestling history, part of the WWE. Like things have to be there. Kane's OG mask, maybe. Fucking Undertaker's, his fucking purple shit. The mask he wore when he fucking broke his nose. Like all that shit. Like they need to have those things hanging up.
I thought that's the direction they were gonna go when they made that.
Yeah,
A&E.
with the WWE Wanted Treasures
Yeah.
series.
And then in season 2, they went to let's actually have this so it's owned by WWE.
Yeah,
to-
like dude.
now to where it's on loan to WWE.
Yeah, like the
WWE
ladder
doesn't
that-
own it.
Like the ladder that busted up fucking Joey Mercury's face, the fucking steel door that Mick Foley got fucking chokeslammed through and onto the thumbtacks. Like that should be a part of a museum somewhere, you know? Like again, a Hall of Fame. Shit like that could bring in serious money for them in terms of revenue and that is a non-stop fucking moneymaker because you know fans would travel around from the world to see that shit.
The famous army jeep that DX rode when they were gonna invade WCW.
Yeah, and then fucking like some like old mats and stuff from certain matches that they can auction off and have a live auction there for, like just things that they're trying to genuinely get rid of because of space or what have you, you know, or you know you can auction those items off.
I will say if they ever legit make an actual WWE Hall of Fame, they better have a place to actually have like a full on ring set up because
That'd
I would
be fucking
love that.
sick.
I would love to have a photo taken in an actual WWE sanctioned ring.
Oh,
That'd be
that's
fucking
easy.
sweet.
That's easy money right there. Like TNA live events and, independent wrestling shows, they do that where they charge, money to get in the ring with a wrestler or sometimes just get in the ring and get a photo. I think that would be a great way to do it. But now, getting into my thoughts about the whole physical WWE Hall of Fame, they need to do this. Like, what's the point of having all of this historic memorabilia in
Just
a
collecting
warehouse
dust.
collecting dust when you should be able to have a physical Hall of Fame where
Immortalize it.
people can, go on vacation to wherever this, Hall of Fame is going to be. Like the Basketball Hall of Fame is very successful. The NFL Hall of Fame is successful. These museums, they have great turnouts. And I think that WWE, they're missing out on a lot of money.
Motherfucker. You got Johnny Cash's and fucking Elvis Presley's goddamn instruments touring the fucking world and going to the goddamn Big E. They are some of the most prolific fucking artists of all time. And you won't even let just fucking WWE superstar shit hang up in a museum? Fuck you.
Could you imagine how big of they would have to like build their own custom building? I don't think I don't think there's
That'd be so sick.
I don't think there's a building that'd be able to.
Could you
because like
imagine the sign?
with all the old WWE sets,
It'd be
and
the shape
Raw,
of a belt.
SmackDown, and pay-per-views, obviously they're
The
not just
LED
gonna want them
screen
like
would be
sitting.
spinning.
They're obviously not gonna want
It'd
those
be a
things
spinner
just
belt.
like sitting
The
up
W.
against the wall. They're gonna want to fucking like actually have them up to where like it looked like people can actually make entrances and stuff like that. So
No shit, that's what a museum is.
yeah, but I feel like I don't think there's a building on this
Oh my
planet
God.
that'd be able to house everything.
Oh my god.
A museum, of course, they're gonna have.
Did you
it
say
split
that they
out.
had to build their own whole ass building? First of all, yes, they would have to build
They
their
have
whole ass
to.
building. It'd be a huge fucking building too. It'd be like the Smithsonian size almost, because there's that much history. Like if you want a
Yeah,
big,
it's gonna be
like
huge.
one place, it'd be in Orlando, 100%.
Definitely gonna
Two-
be in Florida. As much as I want it to be in
yeah.
Connecticut, it's gonna be in Florida.
Two, it's gonna be the size of the Smithsonian easily, especially if you want to hang up the fucking fist. Like you're gonna need a big fucking place. So yeah, and if you want to have a ring, the fucking entrance ramp, all the memorabilia around the whole entire facility, it's gonna have to have their own like hangar, like fucking size.
It's
You know what I
definitely
would
gonna
like to
yeah.
see?
What up?
I would love to see WWE do this as well because this could be a great opportunity to bring in wrestlers to do meet and greets too.
That's what I'm saying. At the Hall of Fame.
They do that at the Basketball Hall of Fame in the summertime.
That's what I'm saying, man. So
I would love this. Like,
What's
if you've ever
stopping ya?
if you ever been to the Basketball Hall of Fame, there's so much, memorabilia there, like, game worn shoes, jerseys, even, Dennis Rodman, who, did some stuff in WCW. They got some of his jackets and iconic, stuff that he used to wear. I would love if
think I've ever
WWE
been there.
did this, man. It's amazing. It's incredible.
I don't think I've ever been to the Basketball Hall of Fame.
Even if you're not a basketball
have.
fan, it's something that you would enjoy.
it's
there's
cool
so
because
much
it's
to
just
do.
history and there's a lot to do and it's like its own little like strip mall. So then
But
you get ice
man,
cream after.
Dude, Cold Stone Creamery, man. That's the shit.
Yeah,
But
dude.
honestly,
Oh,
I
man.
really hope WWE does consider this because what's the point of it collecting dust? But now let's move on to one of our topics that Ben is very excited to talk about, probably more
Okay.
than our main event. Lacey Evans is no longer in WWE. Evans got fans talking after she posted a meme that said how many days left on social media, leading to speculation that she was referring to her counting the days until her WWE contract expires. How do you feel about this news with Lacey Evans moving on from WWE?
So,
Just thank fucking God. Go ahead.
So, I'm going to come at it a different angle that I know that Danny's going to. But all controversy aside, I'm not looking at her super personal life and what her fucking beliefs are. I don't care. I look at it as I'm your fan of what you do in the ring. I'm a fan of what you do for a company. I'm a fan of your family life. You know, I'm a fan of what kind of mom you are. But I'm excited for her because she's going by the name Macy Estrella now. Now, I believe that's her real name.
It
or
is.
maybe, yeah, it's like it is her real name.
Yep.
But she still seems very confident about wrestling shit. Now, however, she just opened up, I think, like an ice cream shop bakery or something like that, or a coffee shop bakery or something. And I'm really, really stoked. Like, I'm stoked because that clearly seems like a passion and a dream that they've clearly had for their family. And if you've seen or followed her Instagram or anything like that, it looks beautiful in there, man. And she's been really stoked on it. And, you know, to make a business and to spend more time with your family is always fucking great, you know, and it gives you more family time. But it's also another way to reinvigorate herself and her passion for the sport and to be able to do what she wants to do, go where she wants to go, or she has a more locked down schedule, be able to be who she wanted to be in the first place, spread the message she wants to spread. So I'm interested for what's going on with her future. You know, I feel like she's going to have a lot more creative freedom. And if she even decides not to step back in a ring, you know, I'm stoked for her future because, you know, at least she has something that she's passionate about outside of it. So, I feel like she was severely underutilized in WWE. I think she's a very, very talented fucking wrestler. They fumbled her a million times. I think, you know, it should have been world champion at least twice now. Starting at Money in the Bank of 2019 or 2020 rather. I feel like her era was then, but then she was pregnant with her daughter now that she has. So those plans were shelved because apparently I think she was set to win. So things happen, you know, but I think in light of the controversy, in light of, you know, other things, they fumbled her. And I think that she's going to strive elsewhere. And I think that I think you guys might genuinely become more appreciative fans of her because she'll be able to do what she wanted to do. And with anything holding her back, I think she could make a name for herself in the industry.
So, Danny, how do you feel about this?
I feel like WWE did her no favors. Like when she came back, you know, she came back.
She was on a roll.
She came back as a babyface, and she came back as a heel, and then she came back as a babyface, and she came back as another hero, and now she's released. I don't feel like Lacey Evans has been relevant since 2019, and I say that in the nicest way possible because it's true.
I agree.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, back in 2019, she was feuding with Becky Lynch.
You're genuinely being fair right now. Like, you're genuinely being, like, you're being an honest individual right now. So, honestly, I have to call that out and appreciate you because you're not coming out this toxic.
I mean, if you remember back in 2019 when the
all
show
toxicity came out during the comment of the weeks.
Yeah.
Toxicity. Remember in 2019, the show that we went to, that was the night before Extreme Rules.
It was fantastic.
Lacey Evans had a prominent spot in that show because I think it was Lacey Evans and Baron Corbin versus Rollins and Becky Lynch.
Yeah.
That was like one of the huge main events of that show. And but since then, like she hasn't, you know, Lacey Evans just Lacey Evans. Like,
she was on a fucking roll, and at one point we were becoming really invested in where she was going to go because they were building her out to be something big, and you loved to hate her because of that fucking persona she had. But I feel like that persona worked for her. And it
was a character, right?
Yes, the Southern Belle, like the fucking.
We were on her Instagram story
dude.
One time.
So you know, I do want to give my thoughts on this as well. My thoughts, you know, about this whole, you know, Lacey Evans, you know, parting ways with WWE. I got to agree with both you guys on, you know, certain things that you guys both said. I think that she is due for, a new opportunity. And I think she's definitely going to be one of those former WWE superstars that does strive outside of WWE. I think that I think that she has all the potential in the world to make herself a bigger star than, what she was in WWE. It seemed like she had great ideas, and it just seemed like her and WWE, they just couldn't really get on the same page. And honestly, I could see her going to AEW possibly.
Yeah.
And part of me feels like
it would help.
Like, obviously, it's very well documented how much she loves being at home. She loves being a mom and stuff like that. I don't necessarily know if her passion was to come back to WWE. She probably did it because obviously the money's nice. She wanted money for her kid and stuff like that. But I just feel like, after she got released in 2020, I think it was, and she obviously came back, last year or beginning of this year.
She wasn't released. She wasn't released. She was on maternity leave.
Yeah,
she was on maternity leave or whatever. It just, spending all that time at home, it just doesn't seem like her heart was really into wanting to be in WWE anymore.
And it's lack of creative.
Issues. Yeah.
Lack of creative, I think that's the big issue with her, because she does seem like she has a good mind for the business. And I think what WWE was giving her, she didn't appreciate it.
And it just wasn't going anywhere.
Pretty much trying to have her be a Sergeant Slaughter ripoff. Pretty much.
I not gonna lie, bro. I would have been intrigued as fuck if we got Sergeant Slaughter's daughter versus Lacey Evans.
Oh, Sergeant Slaughter wanted nothing to do with Lacey Evans. He was not happy about her giving.
Her daughter was talking
for his approval.
Her daughter was talking shit. His daughter was talking shit to Lacey Evans on Twitter or whatever it was. And I was just thinking, bro, if WWE ended up somehow booking that kind of a match for a WrestleMania, just a fun match like that, kind of Sami Zayn versus Johnny Knoxville, something like that, that would have been really entertaining to see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one thing I did see was this picture surfacing of Lacey Evans being a part of the Outcast, which I hope does not happen.
The Outcast group needs to fucking die, bro. I'm so sick of seeing them. Oh my fucking God, I can't. I can't.
Too. But honestly, I think Lacey Evans does have all the potential in the world to really do big things outside of WWE. And honestly, I hope that she does succeed outside of WWE. I want to see what she could do, because I'm going to be honest with you. I never was really behind her in WWE. Even with the Southern Belle character, I didn't think that she could, really get over and get into the title picture. So I want to see what she could do without having her own creative control. I want to see what she could do. So I
will say, I think she would do a lot better in AEW, because there's a lot of pro wrestlers that are really good at what they do, but they don't necessarily enjoy the travel. You know what I mean? So if she's in a company on nationwide television, but she only has to travel once a week, maybe twice, depending, I think that would do better for her. I just don't see, she didn't really like being on the road 3-4 days a week.
I think it's just not having creative control. I think that was her biggest issue with it. But we're going to have to wait and see what happens.
That's not new with WWE. WWE does, unless you're fucking Roman Reigns or Cody Rhodes, bro, you don't have any kind of creative control over who you are.
There it is.
Well, up next.
Toxicity!
Up next, we're going to be diving into our main event topic, CM Punk and AEW drama. We'll be right back with more We Are Wrestling 70.
Hey, this is Flip Gordon. You're listening to the We Are Wrestling podcast. Let's flip and go!
No! How is Nickelodeon Guts number 5? Wow!
What is going on, guys? It's Ben here, the Lone Ranger, and you guys are watching We Are Wrestling Podcast.
We're back. Unfortunately, Ben had to leave the podcast. Something came up. But Danny and I, we got you with our main event topic for We Are Wrestling 70. And this one, Danny, there's a lot to this. So I figured we could break all of this down into pieces and we can give our thoughts on each thing that happened. What do you say?
I say, as long as it's not it doesn't take 2 hours, I say we should bang it out, man.
I don't think it's going to take us 2 hours, but here we go. So, in case you guys have been hiding under a rock, there's been lots of drama going on in AEW. There's a divide with CM Punk and the Elite going all the way back to last year's All Out media scrum where CM Punk, called out the Elite and Hangman Adam Page, and that led to, a big brawl that happened. And both sides have still not, found that, peace. And after AEW Collision this past Saturday, when it went off the air, CM Punk made some comments about Hangman Adam Page. That's not a part of a storyline, according to multiple reports. It was a shoot. And pretty much stated that Hangman Adam Page is not a needle mover. His figures are still on the pegs at Walmart. And it has been confirmed that CM Punk later on apologized to Hangman for the unnecessary comments. How did you feel about those comments that were made? Because I'm sure you did see the video after it went off the air.
I did. I didn't really think too much of it, because shortly after, at first I was like, bro, is this just knowing? Because obviously Punk is not a stupid guy. He knows that people record, especially stuff that's not seen on television. He knows it was going to circle all over social media. Punk's not a stupid guy by any means. So part of me did think it was a work, like it was like possibly going to be setting something up.
Me too.
Because I have heard I don't necessarily know how Hangman feels about Punk. But I have heard from Kenny Omega actually on Renee's podcast several months ago, saying that he doesn't have any hard feelings or any ill will towards Punk. He's whatever. He's neutral in the situation. He just wants to drop it all. So I'm not quite sure how Hangman. Obviously, if Punk has his cell phone number, they might be on somewhat speaking terms. I wouldn't necessarily say, best friends. They're not fucking going out with their wives and having like a double date night or anything like that. But I do think they're on speaking terms. Apparently CM Punk, he was saying that kind of stuff as sort of like a joke or whatever. It didn't come out jokingly how he thought it sounded in his head, to the audience or whatever, and people blew it out of proportion. He sent Paige a text after it happened, apologizing for it or whatever. So I don't really want to, blow it way out of proportion, which I think it has been. I say just, leave it in the past, man. If it leads to something, it leads to something. If not, just whatever.
And both sides have confirmed that CM Punk did text Hangman and did apologize to him for it. But Hangman, obviously, we don't have any reports on it or him, because throughout this entire Elite versus CM Punk drama, Hangman Adam Page has stayed out of it, which is why he never got suspended.
I've noticed,
and he's just staying low.
I've noticed something about Page. He's a very private person. You very rarely ever hear any kind of even when it's creative directions for his character, creative directions for what he does on television, nothing about him really ever hits any kind of media outlets. He's a very private, low-key person. You know what I mean? So it's just weird. But yeah, I do know that he's pretty much stayed out of the whole situation. Like I said, I feel like a lot of people are blowing it way out of proportion. If Punk, has as much contact with Paige to, actually legitimately send him a fucking text and has his phone number, I feel like people are just, turning this, into something huge when it shouldn't.
Yeah, no, I absolutely got to agree with you. And I think if there's anybody in this whole, drama that has been the most professional, it's got to be Hangman Adam Page, because he hasn't came out, called out Punk. Despite CM Punk going on Collision, taking some shots at him, despite the whole, all-out media scrum thing that happened, Hangman Adam Page has stayed professional throughout this. But here's what I got to say about the whole comments thing. I could definitely see CM Punk, trying to make a funny joke, but it came off wrong. And I do think that people are, throwing it way out of proportion, because come on now, CM Punk was making a joke about Hangman's action figures not, selling.
Get it. Like,
true. I go to Walmart, I do toy hunts all the time, and literally I see Hangman figures all the time.
But like, you gotta take it for face value, bro. His name is Hangman Adam Page. His toys hang on the pegs at the store. Like, you have to like put
it's just
two
the
and two
way
together.
CM
You know
Punk
what I mean?
said it. It didn't come off that way, and I think
Bro,
CM Punk realized he fucked up.
That's happened to me numerous times. Like, I'll be thinking about a joke in my head or whatever, or something funny at the time, and like just thinking about it, like I'll break out laughing, and then when I like actually like go to say it how I think it's gonna sound, in my head, I never ends up conveying, or people don't necessarily find it funny. So I have been in a similar situation like this. But
and
just going like,
I do want to add about that though. Too.
Hangman Adam Page, he talked about his toys hanging in the aisle. Like, you got to put two and two together, man.
The thing I do got to add too, speaking of that as well, that's why for me, I like talking to people about my issues rather than texting, because I feel like texting, like people can take it a certain way. And I feel like, when you communicate, when you talk about the issues, you're able to, see like where the person's coming from and like the way the tone is, the way you're expressing it. And I think the way CM Punk expressed it, I think he realized he was in the wrong for that. Yeah. So hopefully, this thing, we can just lay it to rest. But now getting into the Ryan Nemeth CM Punk drama going on. According to Fightful, Ryan Nemeth, Dolph Ziggler's brother, who, has done a lot of work for Ring of Honor lately and did stuff for AEW Dark at the time, was flown in for AEW Collision. When he got there, he was told that he wasn't needed and was booked a flight back home. Fightful added that Nemeth, who appeared regularly on the Elite's YouTube channel, was confronted by CM Punk just after Punk's return at the first Collision. Punk's issues with Nemeth was a tweet by Nemeth that said, literally the softest man alive. That was sent after Punk's return promo where he referred to counterfeit bucks. It was added by Fightful that Nemeth explained himself and there was no physicality with Punk. But PW Torch reports added that at the June 21st Dynamite episode that Punk had appeared shortly after his return, the show that the Bucks weren't at because it was taking place in Chicago, Punk confronted Nemeth in the locker room. Sources told the media outlet that Punk cornered Nemeth in the locker room, got inches from his face, and angrily and aggressively asked if they had a problem or if they need to settle things outside. How do you feel about this news coming out between Nemeth and Punk?
Again, man, it's another one of those stories to where I feel like it's blown way out of proportion. You know what I mean? Matt Hardy has stated it numerous times. Like, he's like, even before Punk came in the picture, like there's been numerous times to where he flew to the city that Dynamite was in, just to find out that he wasn't necessarily needed on the show. So DK booked him a flight back home, whatever. So it's very commonplace in AEW to show up just to find out that you're not necessarily needed, so you go back home. I don't necessarily know or think that Punk had a lot to do with that, because there's a lot of people on Collision that have good relationships with the Bucks and Omega and just the Elite in general. So I think this is, just a huge misunderstanding. They talked, they shook hands. Ryan Nemeth explained to Punk where he was coming from, being, Punk being this massive superstar in AEW. Everybody's talking about him. What's a good way to get traction on your career and, gain heat from the audience by, sending out a tweet or whatever? Maybe it would have been a good idea to, find a way to contact Punk and be like, hey man, I know you're gonna be, coming back tonight, and that's awesome. I'm gonna send this tweet out or whatever. Just know you're like, it's gonna be a work. I'm gonna try and gain heat from the audience, with what you say. So that might have been a smart thing to do. But it's not necessarily, an uncommon thing to show up to Dynamite or show up to Collision or whatever just to get told you're not needed. So
well, that's something
again,
too that I do want to add to what you were saying there. It does happen in WWE as well. When they don't need somebody, they do send them home. It happens in Impact Wrestling. It happens every wrestling promotion. So it's not just an AEW problem, as you were saying.
So I just think people are, again, man, like a lot of these things, now that I'm thinking about it, like a lot of it's just either a misunderstanding or, I think people have gotten so used to this whole CM Punk versus Elite drama that they're just stirring up all kinds of shit in their head and making all kinds of things up and blowing things way out of proportion, more so than they need to be. So I think, just let the cards, play how they may. And, this is a huge misunderstanding, man,
So here's, what I got to say about this drama here, because out of everything that we're talking about with this whole CM Punk versus Elite drama, this is the one that really stands out to me that I want to talk about, because Ryan Nemeth, I am a pretty big fan of his work. I really enjoy his work. I think he has a lot of potential to be a solid mid-card guy, but he's not really being used properly. I enjoy all the skits that he does on being the Elite. I think that he's really funny. I think that he definitely could do something better than what he's given. But honestly, I think Ryan Nemeth was trying to rebound what happened. And I think CM Punk, knew that. He called him out on the bullshit. Because let's be real, Ryan Nemeth is friends with the Elite, and he's probably sick of the whole CM Punk versus Elite drama. And, CM Punk went on Collision, took shots at the Young Bucks yet again, and Ryan Nemeth probably had enough of it. So
it could have been
comment, softest man alive.
It very well could have been. But then I'm looking at it from Ryan Nemeth.
You have to look at it from a friend's side of things. Because Ryan Nemeth is friends with the Bucks. They've given this man an opportunity to show what he could do, because on AEW TV, they haven't given Ryan Nemeth the opportunity to do anything. So they're on their weekly show being the Elite. So Ryan Nemeth obviously is going to stick up for the Young Bucks in this situation.
Yeah, but
so
Ryan
CM Punk took shots at him despite them, separating them on opposite shows. And I think that Ryan Nemeth didn't like what CM Punk said. And that's why he said what he said.
Very good observation. And that might very well be true.
And this is coming from a Ryan Nemeth fan, by the way.
But
too.
you gotta also look at it from the fact that AEW hasn't really put much behind him since he came in the company. And he came in the company before Punk did. He wasn't really been used. He was used on Dark and Dark Elevation. Maybe, he does a lot of work for Ring of Honor. We never see him on like any of the main shows. Maybe Rampage. I don't watch Rampage or whatever. So what a better way than to gain some kind of traction, some kind of, audience, affirmation. Trying to get, some reaction from the audience if you're not being used, than to take shots at one of your top guys. That's a very common thing to do as well.
That is also a possibility as well, because I have been following Ryan Nemeth's career going all the way back to NXT as, Bradley Price. He did some work over there in NXT and FCW because, him and Dolph, they both, were signed with WWE. And he has had lots of, issues behind the scenes with people. One of them was Bill DeMott. Him and Bill DeMott didn't see eye to eye, which led to, Ryan Nemeth asking for his release from WWE. And recently, the Young Bucks did, get Ryan Nemeth, to re-sign with AEW on a multi-year deal as well. So I just think that Ryan Nemeth, had enough of the whole CM Punk thing. So he went on Twitter and pretty much said what a lot of people's, minds are when, with CM Punk. Because a lot of people that aren't fans of him, they do think that CM Punk is soft. They do think that he can talk his shit, but he can't, take it. Yeah. So I think, Ryan Nemeth did feel that way. But and, you know, he's also a professional as well. So being in the same room as CM Punk, he probably tried to, you know, calm the situation down, pretty much saying, oh, I was just trying to, you know, get noticed more, try to get more opportunities on TV, which, you know, is a solid excuse. I just think that, you know, with Nemeth and Punk, I'm surprised that this news has came out the way it is because Ryan Nemeth hasn't really done much.
Exactly. And like I said, man, they shook hands, you know, they talked about it, you know, shook hands, they went their separate ways or whatever. But I don't want to put I don't want to put any kind of blame, you know, as a matter of fact, on Punk for Ryan Nemeth getting sent home because, like I said, it's a very common thing
It's a very common
in
thing, and I
AEW
think
and
that
WWE.
people do have to realize that that's not a CM Punk thing. That's just an AEW thing because this has happened to Matt Hardy before.
How many
and
times
Matt Hardy
have we
has said nothing but positive things about his time in AEW so far.
How many times have we heard, people think the show's gonna go a certain way or whatever, like they think something's gonna happen, and then they get to the right before showtime, and you know, plans end up changing or getting scrapped or whatever. You know what I mean? What are you gonna do? Sit at the arena knowing you're not gonna be on the show, or would you rather go home? You know what I mean? So it's a very common thing.
The only thing I do want to add to this, you know, CM Punk versus Ryan Nemeth thing is I want Ryan Nemeth to be on AEW TV more. So I'm kind of glad that there's, you know, something to be talked about here because there's a lot of underrated talent that don't get the opportunity to be on TV. And I think Ryan Nemeth is seriously underrated. Somebody that could go to AEW's, you know, dark episodes and go watch some of his work because he's very good in the ring.
I don't know much about his history. I'll have to definitely look into that. But, you know, I will say he has impressed me from the very few times that I've seen him. But again, he's an average guy. Like, there's really like
not much you can do with him.
You could tell, you know, he's not really necessarily like he's never gonna be AEW champion. He's never gonna be WWE champion. You know what I mean? I don't even necessarily know if he'd ever, you know, if he'd do anything with the TNT title. Maybe the All Atlantic Championship that Orange Cassidy has, but that's about it. That's pretty much where...
in pro wrestling there are guys that their ceiling is a mid-card talent. And I think Ryan Nemeth just hasn't really had the opportunity to show what he could do. So that's why I'm saying, you know, AEW, we need to push this man on Dynamite at least.
I feel like everybody expected him to be as athletic, if not just a little bit more athletic than his brother Dolph. And it didn't pan out that way. So maybe that's why he's not getting pushed.
Well, usually with brothers, one stands out more than the other, and obviously Dolph Ziggler is a bigger star than Ryan Nemeth will ever be in pro wrestling. But another note about all of this, not everyone is against Punk. As the report stated, Punk has received good reviews for his leadership behind the scenes with Collision, and so far Collision has been a low drama environment. Punk reportedly sees the show as his own and wants to prove that he can provide the type of leadership that he is critical of the EVPs in the Elite.
Yeah, you can clearly tell there's a huge separation from the way Dynamite is being booked and the way Collision is booked. It's almost like two different companies, you know, like Dynamite is more the, oh, this match would be cool to see, so let's fucking throw it on television. It just seems like there's more structure when it comes to Collision. And that makes me think that Tony Khan's not the one booking Collision. I've heard a lot of rumblings that another individual that we're going to be talking about in a few minutes is Ace Steel, who is obviously a very good friend of Punk. He was involved in the whole Brawl Out situation. I heard that he's heavily involved, you know, remotely.
Guy that bit Kenny Omega's arm.
In charge of creative for Collision, and I also heard that CM Punk has a lot of input in creative when it comes to Collision. There's just a lot of things that are different from the two that make me almost for sure know TK is not booking Collision, bro.
And that's the thing, like, I think the environment in Collision is more cool, calm, collected than Dynamite. There has been multiple, legends in, AEW. Jim Ross, for example, I did watch a clip on, his podcast, Grilling with JR, and he even stated that the environment in Collision is a lot more calm than Dynamite. Dynamite, it's go, 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 go. Collision, there's more structure to it. And if you watch both shows, you can tell there's a difference between both products. AEW Dynamite, they're more focused on the holy shit, and they're more focused on go, go, go. Everything has to be go, go, go from 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. But with Collision, there's a lot of structure to it. Timing is everything. Like, if you're, in a match against somebody, you have a certain time limit. There's storytelling involved. So you definitely could tell the difference between both shows, and a lot of the guys that are on Collision, they weren't being utilized properly on Dynamite, and I think that's why this is a good thing that we have Collision and we have Dynamite. You're separating CM Punk and the Elite, who have issues, and you have, both sides putting out two different shows, which having that identity for, an opposite show is very important in pro wrestling. That's why, SmackDown versus Raw was a thing during Ruthless Aggression. And
Raw and SmackDown was so different, bro.
Exactly. And that's the thing with Collision and Dynamite. They're two different shows. And I think what's going on with, for me, I'm enjoying Collision a little bit more than Dynamite. I will say that.
That's because it has more structure. Like, it's either like, they're more consistent when it comes to like, a lot of their story-based stuff, whatever. Dynamite, I feel like because Dynamite's, they're on a prominent network at a prominent time, 8 o'clock on Wednesdays. And, there's more people that watch Dynamite than there is Collision. So I feel like with Dynamite, they try to put on a lot of the matches that will gain a bigger audience, and people will be more interested in inclined to watch. Like tonight, man, we ran tonight at the time recording this video, this podcast. You guys will obviously know like what happened or whatever. But tonight they're having a death match, Texas Chainsaw death match with Jeff Jarrett and Jeff Hardy, which I think is a horrible idea. Just knowing, what Jeff Hardy's been, what happened last year and stuff like that. Dude definitely doesn't need to be in any kind of fucking death matches.
I have a question.
What's that?
Was there a storyline that led to this match?
No.
That's why Collision is better than Dynamite.
They got a sponsorship for the new Texas Chainsaw Massacre video game.
And that's why Collision is better than Dynamite. But now getting back into, the whole, CM Punk versus Elite drama, Christopher Daniels' involvement in the post AEW All Out altercation was specifically portrayed as the reason Daniels is not at Collision anymore. Since Ace Steel was also involved in the altercation, he hasn't been allowed to return backstage, but Punk feels that Daniels shouldn't be backstage. Matt Hardy, who's friends with the Elite, is also not allowed to come to the Collision tapings.
I don't quite know what the deal is with Matt Hardy. I haven't heard anything outside of the fact that he was told he's not needed at Collision or whatever. I don't know what's going on with that. I know he tweeted something months ago, and like he did talk a little bit about, his admiration and how much he loves the Bucks and how cool the Elite are and stuff like that. I don't know if that has anything to do with that. That was months ago. If that's the case, it's really fucking petty. I will wholeheartedly admit that. But I'm not quite sure what the deal is with that. As far as this whole Christopher Daniels and Ace Steel thing, I do think it's as fair can get. Both these individuals were involved in Brawl Out. It's not fair. Although, obviously, Ace Steel, he probably had a bigger involvement than Christopher Daniels did.
He did.
But still, nonetheless, it's not fair if one can be in the building, but the other can't. Even with the fact that Kenny Omega is not on Collision or really anywhere near Collision. Yeah, I don't think it's quite that fair You know,
Yeah, but with Ring of
that's just
Honor,
me.
Christopher Daniels does stuff with Ring of Honor, though. Ace Steel is just a backstage producer. Daniels is, still an in-ring performer, and he's doing, talent relations job.
Yeah, but still, like, if you're gonna allow somebody to show up and the other person not, even though they were involved in the same situation, I mean, it's not really that fair now, is it?
But Ace Steel did try to bite Kenny Omega's arm off like a dog.
But Kenny Omega is nowhere near Collision. It would be a different story if Kenny Omega and the Elite were actually on
But
Collision.
what Christopher Daniels did during this whole, media scrum, he tried breaking the whole fight up. He had no involvement whatsoever trying to start shit. And that's why Christopher Daniels isn't banned from being backstage. Ace Steel, on the other hand, he got physically involved. So there's a difference there.
But if Ace Steel was as bad as everybody's assuming, because let's face it, we weren't there. We know what we're told. Obviously, we saw the mark on Kenny's arm or whatever.
A while ago, you said that you wish you were a fly at the McMahon's Christmas dinner. I wish I was a fly during this whole freaking
I do too. Because regardless, bro, we're never gonna fully know like what transpired.
Dark Side of the Ring, season 10.
But if Ace Steel was really as bad and he really did all this stuff, whatever, and he's as bad as people say they are, why would Tony Khan give him a job as one of the head writers and the head creative of AEW Collision? Doesn't make much sense now, does it?
Well, here's the thing. I definitely have something to counterfeit that. It's because Tony Khan tries to please everybody. Tony Khan tries to make everybody happy. And I think CM Punk knew that if, he was going to come back to AEW, then my buddy Ace Steel still needs to be a part of this Collision. CM Punk is a smart businessman. And Tony Khan is a guy that tries to please everybody, which is the reason why the Elite are separated from CM Punk. That is why Tony Khan created AEW Collision, was for CM Punk and all the other guys that are frustrated, that are not happy with the way that they've been utilized in AEW. Tony Khan is trying to please everybody, and that is the reason why Ace Steel is still getting paid from AEW.
The biggest fumble is not having Kenny Omega versus CM Punk at All In.
Yes,
on a massive platform. But I don't know. I just we can just go back and forth on this all day. I think what I think, you think what you think. I don't think it's fair that one can show up and one can't, even though one got rehired, even though everybody assumes that he's, this bad guy. Like I said, unless we weren't there, man, we don't know what fully happened. We don't. You know what I mean? We can assume, we know little bits and parts or whatever, but it's going to be years before anybody comes out and, lets us know, step by step, how everything transpired.
Hey, but our job as, wrestling podcasters, we have to cover the stuff that, these media news outlets are giving us. And this is all the information that they're giving us, and we just have to give our thoughts on it. And honestly, I think that, I get where you're coming from, because, of course, if one person can't do something, then the other shouldn't be able to do something. I totally get it, but it does feel very petty.
How an easy
Tony
solution?
Khan is just trying to make everybody happy. And it's going to cause bigger issues in the future.
An easy solution for this: have AEW Rampage live on Fridays, and you can have the Ring of Honor tapings there. That way, there's Ring of Honor talent, which obviously involves Christopher Daniels.
There's something I want to add to that.
Go for it.
Ring of Honor, I'm going to tell you this right now, just because I was at AEW Collision. If you guys have not checked out that vlog on the We Are Wrestling YouTube channel, I recommend you guys go do that. But man, Ring of Honor shows, they should not be happening at Collision or Dynamite. They should be, back at Universal Studios where AEW Dark was taking place. I think that Ring of Honor, man, I hate to say this. I really hate to say this, because this does, Ring of Honor is giving guys opportunities But
It's not the same as it was.
It's never going to be the same like it was, and it's so sad. It
I
really
feel
is
like
sad.
I feel like it's on
Tony
AW.
Khan, it's Tony Khan's fault. This man
Yeah.
is taking on way too many responsibilities. I think what Tony Khan should do, because of course it's his money, he should be able to do what he wants, but I think that Tony Khan should only be writing for AEW Dynamite. That's it. Find somebody to do Ring of Honor and let CM Punk continue to do what he's doing on Collision.
Exactly. And like I said, like I feel like the reason why he has the Ring of Honor tapings on Collision is because obviously, like, you've been to Collision, you know how much the ticket prices are. Tony Khan seems like the kind of person that he wants to make sure what he's charging for the tickets, everybody gets exactly the kind of event or whatever that money costs. You know what I mean? Because it's not cheap, inflation, everything. Like, ticket prices are a lot higher now than they were, just even 4 years ago, 5 years ago. So TK just seems like, again, we talked about it earlier. He seems like he wants to please everybody.
He's a people pleaser.
That's including the audience. With he wants to make sure everybody has a good time. They get what they paid for, and that includes a lot more wrestling, including Ring of Honor, that maybe people may not be interested, but they have that option to sit and watch even more than just 2 hours.
And that's the problem. Being a people pleaser in this business is only going to get you so far.
All I will say is if this shit broke out in WWE, whoever started it, it would end really fast with a lot of people losing their fucking jobs.
The last thing we do need to cover with this CM Punk drama is that Fightful report an argument took place between CM Punk and Jack Perry before the debut episode of Collision. Punk took an issue with Perry, one of his plans, during performing during an early episode of Collision, which took place on AEW's Canada tour. Apparently, Jack wanted to use real glass in a backstage segment, and Punk pushed back against the idea as a safety hazard. Punk believes Perry was doing this to get hurt and get out of coming into work next week. Tony Schiavone and others reportedly agreed with Punk. This exchange led to an argument between Punk and Perry. Afterwards, AEW ensured that no performer used real glass without receiving permission from the office beforehand. Also noted, Punk told Perry that Collision doesn't have segments of that ilk and advised him to stay on AEW Dynamite if he had a problem with it. Punk's side claimed Jack Perry threw a tantrum during this.
Yeah, Sean Ross Sapp, I watched one of his live streams earlier this week, and he sort of talked about the situation. He did send a message or reached out to Jack Perry. Jack Perry has yet to respond to him at the time recording this episode. But I heard that it was Tony Schiavone and somebody else that talked to Jungle Boy beforehand, and then they asked Punk to speak to him because obviously Punk is sort of like a locker room leader.
Horrible idea to have Punk speak to him.
So that's what I heard. I will say, man, like, Punk did the right thing. No pro wrestler should be getting put through real fucking glass, bro. Like, just like knowing how dangerous that is. Like, one wrong move, bro. Like, you can, an artery can get severed. Like, so many things could go fucking horribly wrong with that. You know what I mean? I don't know what the hell was wrong with Jack Perry to where he thought that was going to be a good idea.
Well, one thing that, I do want to add to this, Jack Perry has had some issues with veteran like minds in the pro wrestling business. There's, some people suggesting certain things to him. I think Billy Gunn was one of them. And
didn't Jake the Snake Roberts come out and say something too, or along those lines?
There's been multiple legends that have come out and said things where, Jack Perry has told them, I'm going to do my own thing. I don't really need your advice. And having that mindset in the pro wrestling business, I'm sorry, but that just leaves like this disgusting taste in my mouth. Because these guys, these girls, they paved the way for you to have this job. If it wasn't for guys like Billy Gunn and Jake the Snake Roberts traveling all those miles, taking those bumps all these years, you wouldn't be in the position that you're in right now. And remind you, they did it for less money because at the time, the business wasn't making the money that it's making now. Wrestling right now is more profitable than it's ever been. And Jack Perry, not listening to, minds like CM Punk or, Tony Schiavone or Billy Gunn or Jake the Snake Roberts. I'm sorry, that leaves a disgusting taste in my mouth. Do not get me wrong. Jack Perry is a great talent. I am a fan of his. I do want to see where this heel turn goes. But man, the things that some of these veterans advice that they can give you could really take off your career. And you could become a future world champion, maybe if you listen to some of the things that they had to say. Because that's the thing in life, when you get advice, there's two ways of taking it. One, you can, sit there and just brush it off, let it go in one ear, out the other, and not really give a shit. Or two, you can look at yourself in the mirror and you can reflect. And Jack Perry doesn't seem to do that. And I feel like if you want to grow as a character, as a human being, as a person, you need to sometimes, sit there and take accountability. And not everything that you have in mind is always going to be good. Like this glass idea was a horrible idea. So he got called out on it. He didn't like what they had to say. He threw a tantrum. That's a poor way of looking at it.
I will say, and I, we've been running late, so I don't want to, go overboard on this podcast. We had a lot of great topics and discussions today. But I'll leave it off on this. We were all young once. Did we always, listen to grown-ups whenever, they told us, what to do or what not to do, I'm sure your mom or dad was like, don't jump in the pool like that, or don't, wrestle a horse around on the trampoline. Ended up doing it anyway, right? We backyard wrestled once, and I super kicked you. It was a shoot, and I knocked your tooth out. So there've been a lot of instances like that throughout our lives. It's part of growing up. Jack Perry's still a very young individual. Lesson learned, man. People, a lot of these kids, because we were there, you got to learn from your mistakes. It's part of growing up. It's part of life. You gotta, you do something, you try it, it doesn't work the way you want it. Well, maybe, I won't do that again. Maybe that's the way, his brain operates. Cause I know, when I was, in my early 20s or teens or whatever, I didn't listen to any grown up, that told me what to do and what not to do. Because I was like, I want to do what I want to do at the end of the day.
In Jack Perry's defense, he is very young. You're absolutely right. And there's been a lot of, former Ruthless Aggression superstars like Rene Dupree, Maven come out, and they even said their biggest mistake, being so young getting into this business was not listening to these legends, not listening to these people that, took the miles, that took the bumps. And that is one of the biggest mistakes in a lot of young wrestlers' careers. So I can't really, call Jack out on that because there's still a lot to learn. There's still a lot of growing to do with him. And I really hope that he does, sit there and reflect and, could, change some of these bad habits that he has right now.
Hopefully it does, man. And we're going to have to see how it transpires.
Definitely. But overall, with this whole CM Punk thing, what's your final thoughts on all of this?
I think a lot of it is mindless drama that people are blowing out of proportion just because of how big of a deal Brawl Out was. And, nobody got more media coverage, when it comes to pro wrestling other than the fucking Brawl, besides the Brawl Out situation. Everybody strived during that time, everybody from Fightful to Wrestling Observer to PW Tours to all these different, platforms or whatever.
Everybody as well.
Everybody blew up because, everybody had little tiny pieces of the puzzle. And with everybody's little bit of information that they had, everybody tried to put the puzzle together to form, to figure out what really happened. So I feel like, a lot of media journalists and stuff like that in the pro wrestling field that covered that whole situation. I feel like a lot of their attention has died down, and I feel like a lot of people are trying to just get back to that point, because besides the whole Vince McMahon thing, nothing was bigger. And we were talking about that shit for months, bro. The whole Brawl Out situation. So that's my thoughts.
My biggest takeaway out of all of this is everybody tries to make a war with AEW versus WWE, but the real war right now is the Elite versus CM Punk, AEW Dynamite versus AEW Collision, because you have guys on AEW Collision that, weren't being used properly on Dynamite. So they're going on Collision and they're trying to prove that they have what it takes to, make AEW something. And with Collision, they all have like minds, just like AEW Dynamite with the Elite. They have right minds. And there's a war going on. It's not WWE versus AEW. This is AEW versus AEW. I think their biggest enemy right now is themselves. And honestly, everybody is to blame for this situation. Every single fucking person is to blame for this situation. Because I'm going to call it out like it is. But the biggest person that I'm going to blame is Tony Khan, because you are the CEO of All Elite Wrestling. You're the one that's, paying, the checks to all of these, wrestlers on your roster. And the problem is that Tony Khan is not putting his foot down. He's letting the Elite walk all over him. He's letting CM Punk walk all over him. Tony Khan, there's a time and place he needs to put his foot down, because it's only going to get him so far. In WWE, when some people get out of line, Vince McMahon, Triple H, Nick Khan, a lot of these, WWE officials, they have to make some tough decisions. And the problem is with Tony Khan is he's a people pleaser. That's why there's a lot of people that, are day ones in AEW that haven't been utilized for quite some time. And they're getting re-signed to contracts, which is absolutely mind-blowing to me. But then you got to call out the Elite as well. They're at fault because they refuse to sit down and squash this beef with CM Punk. They've said that they don't want to work this problems out with Punk. They just want to keep their distance. CM Punk is at fault because
that's the worst thing you could do.
He's the one that made the comments at the All Out media scrum. He didn't have to go out and, call out Colt Cabana and call out Kenny and the Young Bucks. But he did that because he was frustrated. But there's a time and place to do that, and he picked the wrong time. Yep. And with all these other people that have problems with him, there's a war going on. We all know who's on the Elite side. We all know who's on CM Punk's side. And you basically have to pick your poison. Do you enjoy Dynamite more or Collision? Or you could be like me and you can enjoy both. And I still think that AEW still has the chance to still succeed, because I think, this has never happened before in the pro wrestling business, where you have two big main event, guys that draw asses in seats like the Elite and CM Punk, and they don't like each other. So instead of having them, go at it against each other, let's put them on two different brands and let them compete against each other in ratings.
Bret and Shawn Michaels didn't like each other back in the 90s, bro. They fucking despise each other. But you bet your ass if Vince McMahon was like, you two are working a program, you bet your ass they were like, yes, sir.
And that's the issue that Tony Khan has. He's a people pleaser. So if they say they don't want to work with that person, they don't have to work with that person. At least Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa are very professional. They don't like each other, but they still will work together if Tony Khan wants that. So I do got to acknowledge them for that. But honestly, just my biggest takeaway is the real war is not WWE versus AEW. It's AEW Dynamite versus AEW Collision. That's my thoughts.
Yeah, man. If TK is such a people pleaser, bro, I wish he would please me and make Dynamite just a little bit better and more consistent than it is.
I agree. But hey, last week on Dynamite, I thought it was a very good episode. But hopefully they, continue the momentum, because Collision has been consistent.
Collision is still the number one show to me. Out of Raw, SmackDown, Dynamite, whatever, Collision is still number one.
Absolutely. But is there anything else you want to talk about before we close off this week's episode of the podcast?
Nah, man, I'm sweaty, I'm hot, I'm parched. We've been talking for over 2 hours. I think this is a good time to end it out.
I agree with you. So, to all the We Are Wrestling Maniacs that are tuning into the podcast, if you're listening to this, give us a 5-star review. Not just a 5-star review, but a best one review. And download the episode. Really helps, this podcast grow. But if you're watching this, let us know in the comment section below your thoughts on all the topics that we covered on We Are Wrestling 70. If you guys enjoyed this, make sure to leave a like. If you're not a best one yet already, or We Are Wrestling Maniac yet already, subscribe, turn on the post notifications. We are almost at 5,000 subs. We have a special video coming out once we reach that milestone. The link's down in the description below. You can go follow Ben, Danny, and myself on our social medias and other YouTube pages. All that down below. In addition, you want, some wrestling news and, you want shorter clips of the podcast, go follow us on our social media pages, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and TikTok. All the links down below. And if there is any We Are Wrestling Maniacs that are listening to the podcast that are interested in helping We Are Wrestling behind the scenes, we are looking for some help. You can email us. The first link is down in the YouTube descriptions below. But of course, to all the We Are Wrestling Maniacs out there worldwide, we are taking over. Peace.